I appreciate everybody that hung out and followed me tonight. You guys are amazing. This was so much fun. And again, big shout out to Corey, the Phoenix Enigma, and everyone. Again, it's Robert Knorr of Normal America, and then SJG Perspective. And you can find me at sjgperspective.com. At Stephen Jeffrey, I won't say my last name, sjgperspective.com. Yeah, I almost just doxed myself. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Anyways, dude, I appreciate it, you guys. It's been a really great chatting with you, brother, and we'll catch up real soon here, Rob. And as always, without fear or animus, it's SJG Perspective, and we will talk to you guys on Friday. I'll be streaming again on Friday, so we'll see you then. All right, I'm out.
Thanks so much, man.
All right, hang on one second, Rob.
Sure. We're still live on my channel, just so you know. So.
Okay. So don't say anything stupid.
Don't say keep the embarrassing stuff to a minimum.
Oh, that's funny. All right, dude, I'm going to run in. I appreciate you again for hanging out with me. And it was great. I'll talk to you offline, but I don't know if there's any way we could try to make this a regular weekly thing. Because our energy is always really good together. So,
Yep. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right, dude. Later, man.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Let me just switch up here for you. There I am. You can see the chat. What up? Thank you for being here. I wasn't going to do anything tonight, but always great to hang out with SJG. So, I thought that was great. And I switched over from YouTube to dlive. Hopefully, SJG, man, shout out to him with an impressive 93 viewers on dlive tonight. So hopefully some people came over from that dlive to check out my show. I really appreciate it. If you're on a different platform, if you're on YouTube or Twitch, please consider dlive. It's a platform for everyone. As far as I've seen, it won't censor you for being liberal or conservative. All donations that go to you go straight to you in the form of a cryptocurrency. So, it's worth giving a check out. We're really trying to grow dlive because it's going to be the future as far as platforms that aren't going to kick you off and censor. Am I going to take call-ins? I might be able to. I'd like to be in bed by 1 o'clock, but we'll see how it goes. I might take some call-ins. We'll see how that goes. So, but thanks so much. So, I guess let's get to some stuff that maybe I didn't get to, referring to optimism. So, the first thing that I'll say that me and SJG didn't talk about that's going to be optimistic is in the short term, your life will improve markedly, most likely, with an election of Joe Biden. What's up? Thank you for those that just joined. Thank you. But your life's going to improve markedly here in the initial round because COVID and the lockdowns were COVID exists and it's a terrible disease and it killed many, many people. And I don't make light of anyone that was affected by this, not at all. But the lockdowns and the strategy it was all political. That's what was going on. And so the lockdowns will soon end. That's a benefit if you're a small business or something. The riots will soon end. The Democrats aren't going to put up with these riots. They'll put their boot down. If you disagree with me, consider this. You remember in 2016, you had all these crazy Bernie supporters that were out there and they were harassing conservatives and going after people like Mitch McConnell and going after Trump supporters and things like that. The Democrats were all for it. Oh, they're just exercising their free speech when they were, going to people's homes with bullhorns and intimidating people. It's just exercising free speech. And then came the DNC convention after they screwed Bernie over. What did they say then? Did they say, when Bernie supporters were outside the convention burning American flags and protesting, did the Democrats say they're just exercising their free speech? No, that's not what they said. They said they need to grow up. This is terrible. This is disgusting behavior. It won't be tolerated. Remember Sarah Silverman getting on stage and yelling at the Bernie people? Remember that? That's exactly what's going to happen. Exactly. You think that the media, you think that the Democrats are going to if Joe Biden's in the White House, they're going to let people riot outside the White House like they did with Donald Trump? You think they're going to do that? Not a chance. So you got that they're looking for in the short end. Oh, yeah, our rights win soon. Of course our rights win soon. I'm just trying to talk the few positives that we have. So you'll see that. That's what you're going to see occur, right? There's other things. Like I said, if you're into this kind of thing, I'm not really, but all the smug people, that told you Black Lives Matter and Antifa, all those people, they're going to get theirs. I told them. I warned Antifa. I warned Black Lives Matter. You're just useful pawns. There are two factions right now. There is the establishment globalist faction of the Democratic Party, and then there's the radical faction. And they're going to try to keep it together. They're not going to totally sell them out. But the most radical of the radical, the people that are out there rioting and stuff, they were just useful pawns. See, they both believe in Marxism, right? The appeal of Marxism to the Bernie and the AOC crowd, I believe they believe in Marxism. And what it means to Bernie and AOC is this. Everyone who has 1 penny more than me is immoral. That's the message of Bernie Sanders. See, Bernie didn't like millionaires, and then Bernie became a millionaire. So then Bernie didn't like billionaires. He'll lecture people that make more money of them than him on the immorality of how much they have. But he has a third lake house. He flies first class. That's okay. That amount of wealth is okay. But just having a little more than him, that's immoral. AOC and Bernie believe that. So when they talk about Marxism, they're totally serious. They would go after the Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates. They'd go after that crowd. They would. The establishment Democratic Party, they ain't going to do that. They are the party of the extremely wealthy. That's who Joe Biden is. That's who Kamala Harris is going to be. But they do embrace that sort of wealth redistribution policy. And they certainly embrace, this is the appeal of Marxism to them, state control of all power. They control the state. The state controls everything. They want ultimate power so they could usher in globalism, get rid of the nation state, and them and their oligarchical friends can control this world. And the deal they're offering you is this. We'll give you free food. We'll give you a free house. We do all that, right? But the deal is you have to worship us. You can't criticize us. All right, Robert, you got 5 minutes is all I could give you. Let me open my Discord. I'll post a link. We'll see what I could do. So we'll get you in here. So yeah, I got a guest that wants to come in on dlive. Do I believe Trump lost fair and square? No. Right, that's exactly right. You say now that the radical faction is at lesser utility, they'll be disposed of. That's correct. What's up, Snack Bar? But that's the agenda. So that establishment branch, they'll keep lip service. They want to keep them in line, but they're not going to do anything. It'll be just like the inner city black community. Now the Democrats could go back to not caring about black people. That just like always. Then 4 years from now, they'll pretend again. It'll be great.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Milo? What's up?
You're not allowed.
Yeah.
That.
It's me.
Oh, it just doesn't seem, it just didn't sound like you at first. Sorry.
Oh, who knows? It's been a long couple nights. Maybe my voice has changed a little.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think, man? Just real quick. This is my friend Milo on the chat, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't really been posting a lot in the chat because I just don't feel like saying anything because, well, hey, here we go. Here we got DensCon. I was just here to get some people in here. Yeah, there's a guest for you.
Hey,
talk to him.
DensCon, or just to ask you, Dens, thanks for being back again, man. Were you on dlive? Were you Robert?
No, I got done watching your previous broadcast.
Yeah, no problem. So what's up, man? What are you thinking?
Oh, man. I mean, I've been saying this since September 1st. I sort of dropped on another Discord that I was on the idea that this is going to be drawn out in the courts until both sides just feel disenfranchised enough that they've been stolen from. I know that I heard your entire piece with SJG, and I understand where a lot of the frustration comes from. I think myself, if I'm going to be honest, probably been going through the 5 stages of grief, and it's because we're sort of seeing the writing on the wall. You made great points previously about the most important thing being that now that they have shown that they can rise above any accountability or responsibility for their actions, there is almost no limit now. You made great points about Comey and Brennan and Clapper. I mean, now they have carte blanche. And all of the things we knew about Ukraine and quid pro quo, all that's just going to be status quo, modus operandi for this mafia government masquerading as a human rights organization.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And, to me, like, one of the things that I think is the most telling is that we have incentivized their corruption. Corruption doesn't stop until it's punished in some way. And so what they have learned, what the establishment learned from this election is we could blatantly cheat. We could have a coup against the president. We could cheer for mobs. We could put COVID patients into nursing homes and cause deaths. We could create political lockdowns where we say one group of people, the group that disagrees with us politically, has to suffer and be locked down, but the other group's free to riot, to protest, and do whatever they want. All of this can be done in the open in front of the American people, and we will be rewarded. That's how powerful we are. And because that's happened, what incentive do they have to not do this in the next election? None. What incentive do they have to stop, taking over control of your life? They don't have any.
Yeah, now they'll be able to essentially erase any opportunity for a new populist. I think you said, what was it, 30 years we won't have somebody who stands for the people like we had before. Yeah. And I think that's a shame. I mean the gravity of that statement, although rolls off the tongue, is immense. And I think that's I think you're right in your frustrations with Trump. I think that basically he had opportunities. Could he really have trusted the people around him? Is that what we're saying? And I didn't disagree with you inherently, but yeah, they were bad picks. But why not sit at the Oval Office, at the desk at the Oval Office, and say, ladies and gentlemen, I have something to discuss with you? Long before the election started, why didn't he say there is potential right now built into the way that we have this set up that even if we have the election and we think it's fair, there's going to be opportunity for a distrust, an erosion of trust and faith in our election process. And here's what I want. Even if I lose, I need it to be an accurate election. These are areas that are vectors or attack surfaces for nation states that want to destabilize this country. That never happened. You never reached out to us in that regard.
Yeah, and it's a huge mistake. I think the reasoning for it is he was probably being told by his people, red wave, it's in the bag. Don't worry. Any corruption that happens, we'll root out. No problem. You got it, man. That's what I believe. Did you see this crowd tonight, Mr. President? You got it. It's not even going to be close. Oh, okay. Well, then I don't have to make a statement. I'll just, and it's a huge, no, I don't know. Maybe he's in on it. Maybe he's incompetent. I don't know. But again, the end result is the same. And shame on him and shame on the Republicans that let the rules of the election be changed so close to the election. Shame on them. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know about Trump, but I'll tell you who I do know about. Lindsey Graham, the establishment Republicans, they never wanted Trump. They're more than, this is the biggest election victory for Lindsey Graham and his crew that you could imagine. They maintain their power. They get to have an adversarial president so that they could show how much they are for the people and be against Joe Biden. And they get rid of a troublesome figure in Trump that was trying to rock the boat and actually care about the American people. We can't have that. So to them, it's full steam ahead. And so that's why I kind of, grit my teeth when I have people that I know are really smart, awesome people text me today like, hey man, not all's lost. At least Lindsey Graham won. At least the Senate's doing good. Sure, great. So it's just.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Robert, I see you're in here, man. Go ahead, Robert. What's happening, man?
Hey, brother, thanks for taking my call. Listen, I got a question. It's like a two-parter. Just try to follow me, okay?
No problem.
Okay, so before Trump is out of office in January, whatever it is, the 5th, do you think that either A, he'll pardon General Flynn, or that B, Judge Sullivan will not pursue still charging him because the election's over, so it'll just be whatever to him? Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and so I actually have some interesting stuff that maybe a little inside connection to General Flynn, a little that maybe will interest you. Yes, I do think that Trump would pardon Flynn before that. So there's a lot to talk about in this point. I'm glad you asked that question. So first, I think he'll pardon because he is worried correctly that the establishment will come after him, his family, and everyone that tried to defend him. Now, I talked to a guest at 7 a.m. on my 24-hour live stream. The video kind of didn't load properly, so I'll have this up tomorrow. But his name is, he's Intelligence Officer Tony Shaffer. Tony Shaffer, you see on, he's been on Fox News, other places. He has worked in conjunction as an advisor with the Trump team. He has good personal friends with General Flynn. So I had the opportunity to talk to him a lot about Flynn. And he told me that Trump wanted to pardon Flynn months ago, and that it was Flynn who refused to allow Trump to pardon him. And the reason was Flynn and his lawyer, Sidney Powell, wanted to fight this out so they could show the corruption of Judge Sullivan and the people that were coming after him. So I think they'll fight that to the last minute. And if they don't receive justice, which they won't probably, then I do foresee Trump pardoning him in that, unless there is some arrangement made behind the scenes where basically it's assured through Judge Sullivan and all, look, we got power. We finally got what we want. We're just going to let this go. So there's a chance that Judge Sullivan now, all they were doing was holding out until after the election with Flynn. It's clear that he's not guilty of any crime. It's clear that the system was corrupt going against him. They're just going to want it to go away. So there's a solid chance, and I think the most likely outcome, that Judge Sullivan's just like, oh, okay, all of my fears have been assuaded. Sorry about your time, for your time, General Flynn. Goodbye. Because General Flynn's no longer a threat if Trump's not in office. So, I hope that answers your question. But I do think that it's also worth talking about, piggybacking off this. One of the things that you'll see come from the establishment and the people, not Joe Biden, he's an empty vessel, but the people that really control him, they are going to go hard after anyone that supported Trump in the public domain. So I anticipate getting censored at some point if I get enough subscribers to have a voice that they think warrants some kind of fear because I'm calling out their corruption. I would be suspended. Certainly bigger conservative voices criticizing them will be suspended or demonetized or shadow banned or notifications turned off or deleting followers. That will continue very fast and very harsh because, again, there was no punishment for it. It's been incentivized. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they took a gamble. They put their thumb on the scale. They were all in. They were propagandists for the Democratic Party. So was the media. And it won. Their side won. So when you're corrupt and you help someone win, they reward you. So there will be more censorship and things like that. That's what I predict happening. But it's not people like me that's the most concerned for. The people that are most concerned are people like Tony Shaffer, Special Intelligence Officer that I just told you about, people like Flynn, people like Sebastian Gorka, people like Rudy Giuliani. Those are the people, because understand this, the establishment is furious. Why did they go after Trump for 4 years? What was his big crime? Why did they weaponize the media? Why did they spy on him? Why have they turned the other cheek as Trump supporters are attacked? Why do they blame Trump supporters when they're really the ones that are being mistreated and attacked? What's all this about? The unprecedented attacks on a president using almost every institution we have and many times on his supporters as well. Why did these attacks occur? Yes, a lot of it was to cover up their own corruption. But the biggest reason these attacks occurred, it's one simple thing. Because it's their country. Because they control things. That's it.
Yeah,
and God help you if you challenge that. They will make an example.
Now it's on a poster. Now it's on a poster for everyone to see. This is what happens to you, even if you're a billionaire and you rise up to the establishment. I think there's another piece of this you mentioned earlier about why the Supreme Court may not choose to back some sort of discrepancy or between the outcomes in different states. You said it was 100-to-1 violent increase. No, that's mischaracterizing what you said. Essentially, you said that if they do rule on behalf of Trump in this, we will see 100 times the violence that we saw already. And in that might curtail the Supreme Court for the betterment of the nation. They may choose to not call out the corruption as they see it. Do you really think that's the case? That's one. Two, because I might agree with you.
Yeah.
Then two, if this was about destabilization and not about electing Biden, if this was about cutting off at the knees the United States to let it fit in better with a globalist world landscape, could the actual incitement of violence be the desired outcome?
Yeah. So to answer the second question first.
It's ordo ab cao.
What's that?
It could, because ordo ab cao. It's literally everywhere and everywhere.
Right.
The order out of chaos.
Right.
The Hegelian dialectic thing. Help me out, Jensen.
No, I totally agree. I think that to answer the second question first, I think that absolutely the chaos is the plan, right? And I agree it is order out of chaos. I agree that's
the plan of these kinds of people for hundreds and thousands of years if you really look into it.
Right. That's absolutely right. And again, understand, look at it on this unique perspective as well, right? They've tried to paint Trump and Trump supporters into a box, right? That's what they've tried to do. And they're good at it. They really are. And sometimes Trump hasn't taken the bait, but other times he has taken the bait, many times because he had to. It was the only thing he could do. And so they've tried to paint Trump as this dictator, and they've tried to paint him as a racist, and they've tried to paint his supporters as that, right? So when you look at the idea of they're telling you it's the Trump supporters that are violent. It's not Antifa. It's not Black Lives Matter. Like when we saw D.C. boarding up, we all knew what that was about. We know why Washington, D.C. boarded up. How many Trump supporters are in Washington, D.C.? You think the shop owners were worried Trump supporters were going to burn down their shops? They knew who it was. It was Biden supporters. If Biden lost, that's who was going to burn down their shops. And so I think that you're right that they intentionally want to inflame Trump supporters particularly to take some sort of violent action, which once more, I'll just say, I'm totally against. I'm against political violence. But they want to push people into that box. Just like we saw with the McCloskey family, right? This is what they say. You can't defend you. You can't have the police to defend you. And then when we have the mob, we act like the mob doesn't exist. When they come to your house, break into your gate, threaten to kill you. Oh, now you defended yourself. Look at how violent. Oh my God, look at how violent those Trump supporters are. Lock them up. Lock them up. How dare
Rob,
they?
I got a question, brother. Can I jump in here?
Sure.
Before, can I please finish first?
Sure.
Go ahead, brother.
Long before Trump, this was still the plan. So it doesn't matter.
Right, I agree. I agree with that, but I'm just saying you could see the general trend that this has been a tool that's been used by authoritarians and the globalists for thousands of years. This order out of chaos has been used for that. But you can see the specifics that's exactly what they've been doing to Trump and to Trump supporters for the last 4 years. They've tried to force them to engage in behavior. It's like, and the best way I could put it, and maybe this makes me sound sexist, I don't care. Have you ever been at a bar and you'll see some girl go up to some guy or something and she's screaming in his face and she's spitting at him and she's slapping him and she's hitting him and the guy keeps warning her and she keeps doing it and doing it and doing it and finally he slaps her. And that girl then looks and goes, "How dare you hit me? He hit me. Did everybody see what he did?" That's what they're doing. They're forcing you to engage in that chaos. And then once they do, they say, "See, we knew you were the problem. We knew you were violent." They slap you around. They engage in every sort of heinous behavior they can. They steal from you. They call you names. They physically assault you. And then when you're forced finally in that corner to fight back, they say, "See, you were the problem all along." And then that allows them to become the actual authoritarians that they claim Trump was. Trump withstood the urge to go in with his authority and to stop these riots because he knew that this was the plan. So he said, "No, I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to do that." Well, now the irony is they called Trump a dictator. That's exactly what they'll do.
Rob.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm sorry. Go on, Rob.
No problem.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I'll be quick because I'm just asking questions.
Sure.
Yo, Rob, I need a definitive answer on what you think. This is just an opinion, but it has to play out one of these ways. Either Trump gives Flynn the pardon or Sullivan stops pursuing it because Biden won the election. So, like, maybe he won't give a shit.
Right.
It's got to be one of those things. What do you think it's going to be?
I think it'll be the latter, and if not, then Trump will pardon. But I think it's most likely that Sullivan, because here's the deal, they will go after people that supported Trump. I stand by that prediction. But in this case of Flynn, there's too much mud around it. The average person has already heard too much shenanigans that went on with this Flynn investigation, so it's too risky to try to take down a Trump ally in this way. All
Do
the
you think
attacks.
Manafort will get a pardon?
What's that?
Manafort?
Tougher. That's tougher.
Who's more likely? Who's more likely to get a pardon out of those two?
Well, certainly Flynn would be if Sullivan doesn't drop the case. Flynn will guaranteed get a pardon if Sullivan doesn't drop. I could guarantee that. The case against Flynn will be dropped or he will be pardoned. Guaranteed.
Which one do you think is more likely? It'll get dropped or the pardon?
I think it'll get dropped.
Okay. And what about Manafort? Do you think he'll get a pardon?
It's tough. I'd have to really think about it. I don't think he will.
I think Roger Stone get a pardon?
I think yes. I think he's likely to get one. You don't think so?
He didn't get a pardon.
No, will he?
His sentence was commuted.
Right.
So that he could continue his resistance to seek appeal.
Right.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to seek appeal. He would have just been pardoned as guilty.
But I think there's a chance that Trump will pardon Roger Stone.
Yeah, certainly.
Because Trump might just be like, just to stick it to his enemies one last time. What does he care? He's about to be out. So,
I think that if I can, I think that he will, even if he's out, I think that Trump will be laying the groundwork for someone that he respects trying to get into a position of leadership in 2024. Because one of the things about Trump, for better or worse, is I think he cares about his reputation. For better, as far as I'm concerned, he cares about his reputation. He wants to be liked. Now, he knows he's in for a rough 4 years. He knows that they're going to be attacking him, going through everything in his life with a fine-tooth comb. Like, he knows that, and he's going to be a pariah for 4 years. So the way that he gets his reputation back is by having someone in a position of leadership that then could take the reins to be able to say, see, these people that went after Trump while he was president were corrupt, and they're still corrupt in their efforts to go after Trump. However, I ultimately predict that that will be an unsuccessful endeavor because I believe that the Republican Party, the Lindsey Grahams, the Mitt Romneys, the Marco Rubios, the Paul Ryans, they're going to make sure that some outsider doesn't come in their party again and get the reins of power. So I do think Trump will be trying. He'll be jostling for someone that's allied with him to get into a position of power. And so he won't want to flippantly throw around pardons that make him look like, oh my God, he just pardoned everyone around him. He pardoned his whole family. I think he won't do that. He'll resist that because he thinks that it'll damage his reputation to the average person. And I don't think he wants that to happen. So,
hey Rob, real quick, at the bottom of Discord where your screen name is and the mic and the headset for deafen and mute is, if you right click the mic, is it going to the right input for you? Because right now it sounds like it's being recorded from a laptop across the room.
Oh man, it's got my wrong mic again here. I bet that's what's happening. Yeah, I don't know why it does this. It keeps shifting. Yeah, the sound's good.
Sorry, man. I'm not trying to drive over.
No. The sound to the rest of the audience would have been good.
I can hear you.
Right, that would have been way better there. So sorry about that.
Now we can hear you properly.
Yeah, the rest of the audience could hear me fine because
Discord
sometimes switches up. So yeah, for those listening in the audience, it was just those listening on the Discord call that it would be rough for. But yeah, that's my answer. I don't think he'll flippantly throw pardons around. He will do so selectively for people like Roger Stone and Flynn that it's a clear-cut case that they didn't do anything wrong. But I think that he will be jostling for reputation and is afraid that if he just flippantly pardoned himself and everyone around him, it would make him look bad, and he doesn't want to do that.
It's interesting that we're already talking about the pardons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess to me, that's strange. I'm not sure of the fascination of the Flynn and the Manafort pardons. I guess that's a part of the conversation eventually.
It's not really surprising because he'd already got his family was already persecuted, like long before all this happened. Like, yeah.
And let me address something I just saw in the chat. Ziggy with a good comment. He says if President Trump loses, the Republican Party will be over 100%. The road on his back then stabbed him in the back. The swamp is real and deep. God bless our president. No, I disagree. In fact, I'll be even more dire. One of the first predictions that everyone made, like the first optimistic people said was, well, at least the pollsters were horribly wrong. So finally we could put them to bed. I'm here to tell you that there's a 90% chance that 4 years from now, the pollsters are just as powerful and just as talked about as they were this year. Because, in 2016, they were horrible wrong. Did that affect how much the mainstream media, the left, the Democrats, and almost everyone who was involved in the conversation looked at the polls constantly? Nope. No, it didn't. So do you think because they're wrong in 2020, fool me twice, this time it won't change? Of course. They'll say, we've changed our models. Just like the media. How many times have I heard this? Well, the media got the Iraq war wrong. So, people will finally have lost faith in them. I mean, I'm not saying people have faith in the media, but they still shape the conversation. Totally. The media, academia, the entertainment industry, Silicon Valley, they shape the conversation. They do. Don't believe me? Were we talking about the ban? Yes, in our circles, we were talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. But what was the average person that's only tuning into the news for a half an hour during dinner? Then they go over to a late night show and they watch Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert. Were they talking about the Hunter Biden laptop? Of course not. So, if the media could be wrong over and over again and still maintain their position of prominence, why not the pollsters? And the idea of, well, this will be it for the Republican Party. I disagree. You want to know why I disagree? Because some of the best patriots I know that fought the hardest for Trump are texting me today saying, at least we kept the Senate. It's important. We're going to support all these people in the Senate. We're going to support Lindsey Graham. We're going to support these House Republicans. Yeah, that's the important thing. We got them. That's what's going to happen. You're going to see people that will eventually, they'll be furious, but then they'll ultimately come to the conclusion, well, the Democrats are worse. What am I going to do? I'm going to support them. So that, I don't think. I think that it's not the death of the Republican Party. It's the death of a president that cares about the people. That's what it's the death of.
It's comparable to like the JFK situation. Like, I'm afraid that if Trump wins again, he's going to start doing something so radical and go against the deep state so hard, or even in a tiny little measure, that he will get the same kind of treatment that JFK got. Yeah,
no, I don't disagree.
The only option that deep state has left is to kill him to stop this kind of shit from continuing.
Right, and
I don't know, because it seems like he could have also been playing a part. This was mentioned earlier with SJG and Rob.
Yeah.
Like you could almost, I don't know if you picked up on this, Rob, but did you see his face change as he was doing the interviews with the media and even in the rallies? It was almost like internal information he was getting. It was obvious something was afoot.
Right.
I think he knew it, and I don't know. You got your smirking Pence behind him. To your point about the Republican Party not being dead, they played their part. Right. You know who wins out of this is the bureaucracy that is the fabric of continuity from president to president that keeps the status quo. This is who wins out of this.
Right. And it's, look, and I say this tongue in cheek, but one of the things, that as a conservative, if you're like, or a Trump supporter, more importantly, if you're like, look, what good could come of this? You can, in a really cynical way, look and say, yeah, a lot of the people that are the most vocal on the left, they're going to find out the hard way. Many of them will still be duped and they'll still accept Joe Biden and think he's an ally of them. He's not. So you could say that, but that's not something I'm going to celebrate, because I tried to warn my friends on the left. I tried to warn them about this. You're cheering for the...
I'm generally trying to educate the fucking world about this entire thing. It doesn't matter about the fucking politics.
Right. And so, and by the way, Ziggy's clarifying, he didn't mean death of the Republican Party. He meant death of the populist movement. Yeah, I agree with that. So I tried to warn my friends on the left, and I said, look, I think one thing that I do have a talent for is, maybe it's because of debate, is looking at an issue from different sides. So and that helps me understand, I could see how reasonable people would think this. So I understand how someone on the left could dislike Donald Trump, his personality. Maybe they didn't like some of his policies. I get it. I don't think that makes you a monster. I could see how you would come to that conclusion. And I'm trying to reach out to those people saying, look, even if you hate this man, you can't cheer for the intel community to do this. You can't cheer for a coup like this, because if you do, it's going to be turned on you and the people you support eventually. Like, can't you see that? Can't you see 3 feet in front of your face that this is going to be used for you? You can't cheer for tech censoring people just because they're Trump supporters. Can't you see how that'll be used on you? You can't see that? And most didn't listen. Most said, orange man bad, I don't care. Orange man bad. So the same people, and again, I tell this story all the time. I was graduating high school when 9/11 happened. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about the world. I was angry. It looked like an attack.
I just was generally fucked up. When I was growing up, I was in like 5th grade when that happened, and I was just like looking at it like, this is fucking unbelievable. I can't believe that people believe this.
Yeah. So now I
fucking corruption.
I was not like that. I thought we were attacked. I was like, we were attacked. We need to do something. But 1 second here. But I thought that, sorry, just getting someone on Discord here. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to do something. We have to go to, respond. But by the time I was in college, I realized the war in Iraq, I was very skeptical of it, very. And that was kind of when I was starting to wake. Like I said, Waco was the defining incident for me.
I'm saying I was way way before you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I,
And I'm only 27, and you're what?
36. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it seems ridiculous that I can claim that I know all these things, and I'm only 27 years old when I literally have like thousands of years of knowledge inside of me. It's like fucking. It sounds ridiculous, but.
No, I hear you.
So you know what we did see? What we did see is Twitter play their part in censoring. Big tech now is in the good graces of the current president if Biden were to be the president-elect, right? And so there won't be any breaking up or worrying about the censoring of the voice of the right. They will be rewarded for that. So we've kind of taken quite a few steps back with this. Now, am I ignorant to think that there is still potential for a legal battle? I think you've highlighted many reasons in your previous podcast why that would be the case. But I guess maybe it's ignorance, but holding on for dear life, I guess.
Right, yeah, and I think there will be challenges and there should be challenges, and if things were done correctly, I think there was so much evidence of obvious corruption that legally the courts should deal with it, but I just don't see it happening. But like just real quick on this story, then when I got to college, I was against the Iraq War. I later found out that the candidate that I liked the most was Ron Paul. And I kind of was against these. My big issue at that point in my life was I was against these foreign wars. I was tired of us getting involved in these countries. I saw them as corrupt. And many of my friends that agreed with me are on the left. They too were tired. This was their big issue. Bush lied. People died. I used to go to punk shows. I was into punk and metal music. I'd go to.
Also spoke against the fucking money system.
Right.
And how it's a slavery system.
Right. So I would go to these concerts, right? Punk against Bush. No Effects having these concerts, metal music against Bush, all this stuff. We're against these wars. And then came a man named Barack Obama. And I said, look, he's engaged in the same wars. That's terrible. And all of a sudden, my friends on the left, where were they? They weren't beside me anymore. Well, now the wars weren't so bad. All my friends on the left.
That we were going down to a fucking horrible kind of road. That was a proof that I needed to see that we were definitely going into an evil authoritarian fucking nightmare.
Right. So where were my friends? I said, where are they? All my leftist friends that were anti-war, where did they go? Well, they were kind of quiet. Where was Bruce Springsteen? Remember when he was furious about the wars under Bush? Where were all those musicians that were furious about the wars? They were silent. In fact, they gave Barack Obama the Nobel Peace Prize. And then came Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden they were concerned. Oh, you can't elect Donald Trump. He'll be a warmonger. He'll be bad. You trust him to have his finger on the nuclear button? Think of all the entanglements and wars he'll get us into. Not only didn't he, but he started to talk about bringing troops home. And now my friends, that the biggest issue they had in the world in 2004, 2005 was stopping these wars and bringing the troops home. Just 11, 12 years later, you know what they were telling me? I was a racist for wanting to bring the troops home. I was a xenophobe for wanting to bring the troops home. That's what they told me. That sort of power to understand how manipulative and how much propaganda can influence you. Like we talk about, oh, well, the mainstream media, they're a joke. People don't trust them anymore. Really? Someone is. For that zeitgeist, that mass of people that were anti-war to now be totally on board. Yeah, and I keep telling my friends on the left, you cheer for this stuff. It will be used against you. It will. And they ignore me. And so now, in a weird way, you get to say, look, I told you so. I told you it'll be used against you. But I'll still fight for them. I'll still defend them. But I mean, that's what's going on. So,
hey, Rob, why don't you go over when people ask you why are you even doing these kinds of debates? Because you're obviously seeing that this is going nowhere. Well, why don't you cover that? Because that's a really good analogy for what we're talking about here.
Right.
They're just living in such a bubble that they will never, ever listen to anything because they will find some way to discredit whatever it is just because they're caught up in something that was said. Like, for example, if you mention the word deep state, then they think they're Alex Jones or some kind of bullshit.
Right.
They don't believe in conspiracy theories that all that things. It's just, ugh.
Well, so here's the deal, right? Why do I debate people? Why am I somewhere like Twitch? For those of you who don't know, Twitch, which I'm streaming on right now, Twitch is overwhelmingly in the political scene, left-wing and far left-wing. And I've got a lot of backlash from Twitch. Before, when I just did a YouTube channel, even if I had a decent amount of people watching, I didn't get personal attacks. No one was contacting my work. Almost immediately when I started to go on bigger panels on Twitch and debate left-wingers, there would be an uptick on people that followed those left-wingers coming, rating my Twitter stream and just saying how horrible I was. I got phone calls to my company that I worked on saying I was a terrible racist and my company should fire me because it turned out they found my LinkedIn page. I had someone create a website saying that I was a pedophile. So all of that was from Twitch. Why would I go on Twitch? Why would I bother to go there if that's the treatment I'm going to get? Well, because I'm not going to back down. I find the principles of free speech and talking with people that disagree with you and the best idea winning to be a core principle that I hold dear. And so I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to do that. And the only way you could reach people that disagree with you is if you sit down and talk with them. Or if they hear you sit down and talk with someone that represents their beliefs.
But why don't you mention what's going on in the intellectuals discourse? These kinds of arguments, you're just going around in circles and circles and circles, and they would never listen because they don't fucking care about your source because it doesn't matter.
Well, but here's the thing. There is, when you talk to someone, it's not just you talking to them. So let's say I would set up a debate tomorrow, and it's with a communist, and they want to talk about communism versus capitalism. There is probably literally nothing I could say in that debate, no matter how factual or how amazing, that's going to change the core beliefs of that other person. But there's two reasons to do that. One, because it's not just that person I'm talking to. And I mean this even if you don't have a channel, right? Anytime you're engaged in a conversation with someone, even if you think that no one else hears, oftentimes people do. And there's 5 types of people that could hear you. There are people that incredibly agree with you and people that incredibly disagree with you. You're probably not going to sway either of those groups, right? But these next 2 groups are people that sort of lean your way or sort of lean against you. Those people are persuadable. And then the middle group is people that are indifferent or they're ignorant of the situation. When I debate someone on the left, all 5 of those types of people are watching. Now, it might be, if I debate Destiny, he has 5,000 people watching. Maybe 4,950 of them are like, this is a fact, Alex Jones, blah, 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 just name call. Conspiracy theory, terrible person, right? But maybe 50 of them are like, well, I lean left, but I think those were some reasonable points. So that's the first thing I have to say why it's important to reach out and talk to people that disagree. The second reason is this. You don't persuade someone most times the first time you talk to them. In fact, words and your arguments are less persuasive than how you carry yourself and your authenticity and whether or not you're a genuine person. So if you show someone over and over again that I'm worthwhile listening to, not because I'm trying to make an argument to just win this debate, but because I actually am sincere in my beliefs and that things make sense. Over time, I think more people, even if they don't agree with you, they're like, I understand why you have that opinion now. Whereas if you wouldn't have talked to them ever, they would just be like, you're terrible, you're a conspiracy theorist, I'm not going to listen to you. So that's why I reach out to these panels and things like that. It's frustrating. Yeah, you're absolutely right. 95% of the time, it's not a good faith discussion. I'm on there, I'm being polite, I'm being civil. Every other word out of their mouths, F this, F that. But I don't care. I keep plugging away. So, hey, I'm going to end the Discord here, and I got to get to bed. So I'm going to end the Discord here and then wrap up. But
Can I just finish something?
Sure.
I want you to, everyone in the audience, to look in your own state's climate action plans. Because when you read those climate action plans, you'll be fucking scared beyond belief with what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read that in your own state.
Oh yeah, I have definitely read the thing. Like, there will be a lockdown over the climate in the next 4 to 8 years. No doubt. So, all right, I'm going to end the Discord and then I'll wrap up the show here. But Descon and Milo, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
All right, Rob.
Take it easy. We'll talk to you soon. So, yeah, good people coming in, good questions. So, and that's why I truly say anyone who's a mod on my channel, I say, look, if someone disagrees with me, even if they're calling me names, don't ban them, don't censor them. I welcome that. Look, and I'm sincere about this. Like, you watch everything I've said. I was telling people if Trump won, I predicted Biden would win. I said there would be corruption. I said if Trump won, you would not see me pouring salt in the wounds of people. And I could prove that because I didn't in 2016, because I know what it's like to put a lot of hope in a candidate winning and then them to get crushed. I supported Ron Paul twice, so I know what that's like. So I was going to try to use the opportunity to say, yeah, it sucks. I understand your candidate lost, but I still think our side's preferable. So hear me out. But I understand that it's human nature, and I don't begrudge anyone. You want to rub it in, you want to make fun of people screaming at the sky. I get it. I don't mind it. And so this morning, when I had a bunch of Twitch people come on, and they're, even tonight to a little degree, you have people like, coming on like, oh, I want to see a meltdown. I want to see this fatso here melt down. It's like, well, I don't know that I would call what I said a meltdown. I predicted it. So it's easier to have a meltdown if it's a shock to you. It's not a shock at all. This is exactly what I expected. So it's not really a meltdown in my estimation, but I think you're perfectly within your rights to mock me and, to rub it in a little. It's not what I would have done, but fair enough. I don't judge you as a bad person for that. Have fun with it. And keep in mind, the people on the right that are like, how could you say that this election was stolen? They don't think so. And that matters to how they're acting. It does. Remember, those people on the left were convinced because of the media that Trump stole the election in 2016. And you might say, but there wasn't as much evidence. I agree. But it doesn't matter what the evidence was. All that matters is what those people truly thought. They truly thought the election was stolen from them in 2016. And so, when people were pouring salt in the wounds, they remembered it. Now they're going to return the favor. Now, I think that they're objectively wrong. I think that the election was not stolen in 2016, as we've definitively proven. And I think that this one was, as is quite evident to me. But I understand if you didn't believe that, why you would be bragging. So, no problem. Bush says it's not over yet. Yeah, I guess. But, true. But it's a very, very low probability. I'll check the map here to see if anything's changed this evening while I've been going on. So what I'm reading says Pennsylvania, 89% in, and Trump's lead has shrunk. So keep in mind, last night it was 75% in, and Trump's lead was 700,000 votes. Adding 15% with 10% to go, that 700,000 has shrunk to about 160,000. So if that pace would continue and these numbers are accurate, that'd be it. Pennsylvania would go. Now, Georgia, there's going to be problems with it. We'll see what goes on. North Carolina's not going to know for 12 days, so that gives them plenty of time to cheat if they have to. Arizona, it could end up swinging Trump, and same with Nevada, but it'll be irrelevant if Pennsylvania goes. So we'll see. So yeah, you could put your hope in the courts basket. I could give you a long list of things that conservatives were certain that the Supreme Court was going to go their way, only to have it not. So I just don't see it. I don't see the courts doing anything about this. It's obvious corruption. It's obviously theft of the election, and they're going to get away with it. So why does it take North Carolina 7 days to count 5% of the ballot? Excellent question. What is the reason that so many Democrat cities, when it appeared as if Trump was winning these counties and we had these stable curves going, all of a sudden they stopped counting? And then in the wee hours of the morning, while basically everyone was in bed, they magically found votes that were overwhelmingly, sometimes 100%, thousands of votes that were 100% for Joe Biden. How do we have turnout in places like Wisconsin that are 90% turnout? 90%. Shocking numbers. Shocking. It could be true, but that's shocking. So we're going to lose and the Dems will win and they'll get away with it. That's what's going to happen. In my opinion, and I would rather spend my time talking about what that means than, well, maybe he'll win. Maybe he'll win. But I understand that people want to talk about, well, maybe he'll win. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just not my forte. It's tough, because I think that I know. I think that, I've been very good. I'm not necessarily saying predicting elections, but my predictions of what would happen in this country have been remarkable. I would put me up there with the top. I mean, some of the things that I got right predicted. Let's start with what I got wrong. I did not think Donald Trump would win in 2016. I did not. I thought the corruption would be too much. My estimation was wrong because the deep state, and I don't care. Like, I have people tell me, why do you say that word? Whatever. I guess I'll come up with a different word. By deep state, I mean unelected officials and oligarchs, such as people in the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, the IRS that weren't elected. Oligarchs such as Bill Gates, George Soros, people like that pay for influence and actually are the ones that control the policy. The propaganda arm of the deep state, which is the mainstream media, people in academia, people in the entertainment industry, they're all shilling for those people. Basically, the people that really have power in this country that could give two shits less about the average person. That's who I'm talking about in the deep state. And it's funny how you get mocked for that, but then, like, let me take a moment to say this before I leave. I don't need these headsets anymore. Let me take a moment to say this, right? I can handle people that disagree with me. I can even handle people that believe all sort of outlandish stuff. I don't mind that. But what bugs me is people that have intellectual, inconsistent arguments, right? So, like, what I'm talking about here is on the left. So, like, the left will say this, deep state, that's such a joke. How could you believe that? And then in the same breath, they'll be like, not even the people surrounding Trump agree with them. They're all trying to save us from him and make sure that he doesn't, like, have these disastrous policies. Did you see that whistleblower that wrote that book, Anonymous? Did you see him? I forget his name now. Miles Turner, was that it? He said that there was only 3 or 4 people in the entire Trump administration that had Trump's back. But what would you call that? If all of these unelected bureaucrats are trying to sabotage the duly elected president of the United States, what do you call that? So you could laugh and you could say, deep state, oh my goodness, right? But what was I talking about the deep state for? This is a win for them. I forget where I was going with that, so... Yeah, they'll come for all your rights. Of course they will. Of course. But I forget where I was going with that. The logical consistency part. Yeah, I kind of made that point. Yeah. So it just bugs me with stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. The Americans that probably know the most about socialism as a group are Cuban Americans, overwhelmingly against socialism. Isn't that odd how it works? Most of the people that are most fervent supporters of socialism have never got to experience. Those that have, not a big fan. Yeah, I mean, T. Lawton, we should have won. But again, who do you blame? Of course you blame the people that cheated and all that, but the Republicans couldn't stop this? They couldn't see the writing on the wall? And to put it this way, say that you could take How is Biden a socialist? Well, again, I've explained this earlier. So there's two factions on the left right now. There are the actual socialists / Marxists, your Bernies, your AOCs, and people like that. They really believe the doctrine. They really do. And to them, what socialism and Marxism and what they're advocating is this. Anyone who makes 1 cent more than me is immoral and evil. And they're serious about that. And they want to go after those people that are making 1 penny more than them. They're allowed to be wealthy beyond means, spend what they want lavishly, fly around on first-class jets, have 3 houses, leave a bigger carbon footprint in 1 year than you'll leave in 10. They're allowed to do all that because they're good people. But the people that make more than them are terrible, and they want to take their money and have total government control because people like Bernie and AOC says, if you give me control over everything, then I'll make sure we live in a utopia. That's the socialism and Marxism that they embrace. Massive government power that everyone's dependent on. That's what they believe. And they'll go after the wealthy because they're sincere. But then you have your Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's, Hillary Clinton's, Joe Biden's. Kamala Harris is just an empty suit. She'll fall into this category, though. They believe in the tools of socialism. They believe in the tools of Marxism. So the idea of, yes, we want the government to be massively powerful. Yes, we want everyone reliant on the government. Yes, we want to take income from those we think don't deserve it and redistribute it. They're all for that. So it looks like they're socialists. But there's one difference. They're not interested in going after the wealthy. Not the wealthy that donated to them. Not the wealthy that is part and parcel of them. I mean, it's no doubt they control the narrative and they try to spin it like the Republicans are the party of the rich. Hands down, election after election shows the very rich, overwhelmingly Democrat, overwhelmingly give money to the Democrats. Why? Because the Democrats want massive control in government. And so if you're someone who's incredibly wealthy, you want to make sure you're greasing the palms of the people that want big government, because that could help you out. Someone who wants little government, why do you grease their palms? Hey, I want little government. I basically want to have no say over anything. Okay, no need to bribe you. Oh, the person that wants massive control? Sure, I'll bribe them. Nancy Pelosi ain't going to go after those people. Are you kidding me? So it kind of looks like socialism. They'll use the same tools. Censorship, taking away your First Amendment, taking away your Second Amendment, open borders, all of that stuff. But they have two disparate agendas. And the truth is, as soon as the progressive kind of socialist Marxist, radical young people, as soon as they've outlived their usefulness, the Democratic Party will turn on them in a heartbeat. Paradox says, but aren't the Republicans giving tax breaks to the rich every time they get power? Yes, but that's an economic philosophy that says that if we have lower corporate tax rates and lower tax rates in general, that will encourage more investment and more businesses to be spurred. Now, you might disagree with it, but that's the idea. However, that sort of ability to make money by paying less in taxes is less important and less favorable to a true billionaire, like one of the most powerful mover and shakers. They don't even really care about that taxes. The tax cuts. They're going to find tax havens anyways. They're more concerned about government having massive power that they could pay to wield. So Zuckerberg will happily pay a little more in taxes if that means that he could be an ally of the Democratic Party that has total control over this country. It's easy exchange for him. Sure, I'll pay a little more in taxes to have total control over this apparatus, to be in their good graces. They'll take that easily. And the numbers don't lie. Like, if everyone on the left that's like, oh, actually, Biden, the big billionaires, they're not going to like Biden because he'll tax them more. Then why are they supporting Biden? You don't think they know? You think they're going to be surprised by Joe Biden, who's been in office for 47 years? Maybe they know something you don't, and that's why they're supporting him. And I will say this. I do like the fact that so many people I see that are leftists on Twitch just like have the worst like dad joke sense of humor. Except it's worse than dad joke. It's a group of people that think that if they repeat what they heard their favorite Twitch streamer say, that somehow the joke will be funny when they say it. Dude, you're such a Chad. You're based. You're based, man. Lulz. Keck W. Doing it for the lulz. Yeah. Cool, man. Woo. I'll tell you about trickle-down economics. But 99% of you wouldn't get it. Good one. You got her, man. Hassan viewers, yeah. Good stuff, Jax. If the tax cuts were so bad, right, and they were racist, then why did median households, including those making under 25,000 and those making under 50,000, get upwards of a 12% tax break, according to Market Watch and other numbers, GAO, others? And you don't have to believe me. Anecdotally, everyone I ask is poor, and they all got an increased tax cut. How come we had record unemployment? How come the economy was booming? The tax cuts were a disaster. How come wealth disparity and unemployment numbers, in particularly the most vulnerable communities, such as people of color, Hispanics, well, I guess that'd be included, women, single women, why were they doing all-time highs? But you're right. I keep hearing trickle-down economics is a joke. That's one of the things I give the left credit for is they define a term, they stick to it, and then they put a connotation on it. And so they say trickle-down economics, like, well, it's a negative thing. You can call it what you want. I don't have to call it trickle-down economics. I could call it that if you have an overly burdensome tax burden on businesses, that they won't want to create businesses in your area. And instead, they'll go somewhere else in the world or in the country. Just ask AOC about all those Amazon jobs that were lost in New York. By what measure? Paradox says we've been cutting taxes for years, but Americans are basically worse off than ever before. America had one of the highest corporate tax rates before Trump cut it. So just because you're cutting, if it started off an incredibly high rate. Now, when you talk about individuals' tax rate, well, yeah. And again, this is like one of the things that frustrates me, and I'm not accusing anyone here of doing this, but when you try to have these nuanced discussions a lot of times on the left, they just want to try to mock you and think that you're a terrible person for suggesting it. So, for example, climate change, I could say, yes, the climate changes. I totally agree. I'm not denying that. I'll admit that there's probably damn near scientific consensus that, yes, the climate does change. However, there's several questions. How much is the climate changing? How long will it take to change in that way? What are the chances of that impact happening? What are what are the negative effects of the climate changing? How long will the worst of those effects take to occur? What are the chances of those worst effects occurring? What are possible solutions we have to climate change? What is the cost of those solutions, both in terms of financially and also other human cost or environmental cost? All sorts of questions. These are all questions that need to be answered so we could have a consistent and effective plan to fight climate change. Yet the other day in the debate, when I said that, what did the person say? Oh, yeah, good point. Next question. Can you prove to me the earth is round? Because you're a flat earther. If you have serious questions and serious points you want to make about climate change, the only acceptable position is agreeing with everything I say. Okay. Worthless conversation. The same type of discussion could be had with healthcare, with taxes. So when we're talking about taxes and healthcare, I think there's a serious conversation to be had. You heard me tonight criticize the Republicans. They needed to have a better healthcare plan. I think that Medicare for All is a disaster. I think that we need look only to the VA to see in this country how government-ran healthcare operates. It's terrible. However, I might be able to be convinced that a bad plan is better than no plan. So I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to hear it out. This is what I say about something like Medicare for All. If you're honest with the American people and they vote for it, then that's what happens. But what upsets me is no one's ever honest. Just be honest. It's going to raise your taxes 30, 40%. If the American people are willing to say that's worth it to me, I think I'll pay less in medical care that will be that'll increase my money even with the offset of having to pay this taxes for healthcare. Biden ain't my candidate. Let me ask you, Jack, if you don't mind, who would your candidate be? How would you identify yourself politically? Not trying to be a jerk, honestly asking. Answer the healthcare stuff. The problem is we don't have the discussion. Well, we'll never have the discussion. We won't. And that's kind of where I'm going to get with Jack here is you will never, I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I say it over and over, over and 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 over. What's your issue? Climate change? Healthcare? Guess what? You better hope James Comey agrees with your issue. Better hope Brennan agrees with your issue. The leader of the CIA or the leader of the FBI or former leaders that are running the show. Better hope the people that are lobbying and buying for all the decisions agree with you, because your voice don't mean shit at all. You know how I know? Because Chuck Schumer told me that the most powerful person in the world, the president, the duly elected president of the free world, of the most powerful country in the world, has to be fearful of unelected intel officials. Chuck Schumer said, you can't criticize the intel officials or they'll find 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. It's exactly what's happened. If the entire media could just choose to not run one negative story of one of the major candidates while reporting any innuendo about the other, if social media could censor a 200-year-old newspaper in that effort, if all the other things we've seen that tip the balance, overwhelmingly, every institution being for Joe Biden, if they could do that now, why can't they do it when your candidate comes around? So the only chance you have of your issues, Jack, when you say, and I didn't get closest would be Bernie, so fair enough. So I assume as a Bernie supporter, things like a progressive cause such as Medicare for all, healthcare for all, something like that would be important. You're probably concerned about climate change. I hope that the intel officials agree with you. That's all I could say. Maybe they will, and you'll be happy. But maybe they won't. And if they don't, then they'll smear you and they'll censor you and they'll smear Bernie and censor him and go after him. And what can you say? You cheered for that when it was against the guy you don't want. So now you just got to take it. You say, well, yeah, that's what I cheered for. You elected Joe Biden. You elected the deep state. That's what you did. So, predictably, when we're in a war, because all of these intel people that are aligned with the military-industrial complex and want to make money off those sweet, sweet bombs, don't act shocked. It was obvious that this was what was going to happen. That's it. I don't know what to say. You voted for the establishment. You voted for the intel communities. Did I see his previous tweet? If there's enough for the military, there's enough to take care of healthcare. Good luck. Good luck with the military-industrial complex candidate. Bombs Trump still used at a surprising rate. No doubt, Trump bombed more than I would have liked, but I'm not an ultimate pacifist or anything like that. Sometimes we should be bombing, particularly terrorist targets, and I think he's went too far. I criticize him heavily for Syria. What about Barack Obama? He was dropping those bombs too. Trump didn't get troops on the ground in any other country that we weren't already in. He's the first president that could say that in many years. Obama couldn't say it. And Biden won't be able to say it. All Biden will manage, the only country Biden will be a peacenik on is China, because he's bought and paid for by them. I'm not implying that you even liked Obama, but why would you vote? Why would you think that you have a chance at change by voting for a guy who's been there 47 years and was the vice president under Obama? Changing what? Back to sending troops across the world? Yeah, that's something I'd check out, Jack. I think we should have pulled out the war in Afghanistan. And look, like at every turn, the Democratic Party, which Joe Biden's part and parcel of, advocated for more xenophobia and more war, except with China. Every other place, Russia, act of war, Pokemon Go memes, that was an act of war. We had to have meetings in Capitol Hill. That's what they said. They pushed for no-fly zones in Syria. They pushed for intervention in Syria. They pushed for Trump to drop bombs in Syria. They pushed for a more aggressive posture towards Russia. If peace is what you're concerned with, voting for Joe Biden seems incredibly suspicious. His track record as both a senator and as a vice president shows that he was there while all sorts of foreign regime change wars occurred. Dragging Biden to the left will be easier than Trump. Why? The mistake that you all made that were progressives, understand Trump, first and foremost, I think he wanted to be popular. I think if the left would have given him a fair shake, he would have probably agreed with him on many issues. For example, I kept hearing from the left in 2016, if Trump gets elected, he'll lock gay people up. I've never seen a Republican that was more pro-gay rights. He appointed gay ambassadors. He appointed them to positions of prominence. He flew the rainbow flag at the RNC convention. He didn't pass any laws that were anti-LGBT. Well, there is the question of not wanting trans people in the military. But other than that, seemed like a settled issue. Biden's not going to driven by the Biden will be easy to drag to the left. The problem is Biden's not who's in charge. Clapper's in charge. Brennan's in charge. The people running the CIA and things like that, they're the ones in charge. You don't have to worry about Joe Biden. You can drag him wherever you want him. So good luck. Yeah, I did casually mention the trans thing. Did you know I have asthma and I can't serve in the military? People that have diabetes can't serve in the military. Did you know if you're a trans person that there's a lot of hormones and drug therapy that you need that's difficult to get to the front lines in the military? I question why, if we say that diabetics can't serve in the military because of the medication that they're forced to take, why would it be any different with the trans community? Why is it all of a sudden, well, he's bigoted towards trans? Now, if a trans person decides that they don't want to take that hormone therapy and they don't want to go through transition, I don't think there's any law that says that they can't go. And I mean, the uniform's all the same, so it's not like you have to worry about that. Yeah, but here's the problem, Jack, and I respect that. I do. Jack says, hey, if no progress is made under the Biden because we couldn't drag him to the left, I'll be first to admit it. But the problem is worse than that, right? The problem is you endorsed. There was one chance to end the corruption. One chance. And that was fighting back against the intel agencies that are really controlling this country. And instead, Joe Biden, and by proxy, people that supported him, supported those intel agencies. They ain't going to let Bernie win. It's not going to happen. They're not going to let Jill Stein win. They won't. They already smeared both of those as potential Russian assets. Both, Bernie and Jill Stein. The FBI did that. So now you've just co-signed. The best case scenario for me would have been Trump winning. But other than that, the best case scenario, not just because it could have avoided unrest as much, but for another reason, would have been a landslide that's uncontestable by Biden or Trump. Both Republicans and Democrats, including progressives like yourself, like Bernie supporters, you should have been cheering for your party to win or your party to get crushed. But the worst thing that can happen is your party to barely lose. And the reason is because then it'll just be business as usual. But if your party would have got crushed, if the Democratic Party would have got crushed, Jax, then all of a sudden people that are progressives or people that actually care about the working class, they would have started to rise up because there would have been a vacuum, a power vacuum. But instead, it's Nancy Pelosi's party. It's Chuck Schumer's party. It's Joe Biden. He's been there for 47 years. Maybe now he'll care about the people. Come on. Same with the Republican Party, though. You think anything's going to change? Nope. Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Jeff Flake. Well, Flake's out, but the people like him. The John McCain types, that even though he's gone. If the right would have got crushed, if they'd have lost a huge amount of seats, then maybe we could have got people on the right like me that actually care about the working class and care about people. But instead, the establishment wins again. Business as usual. That's right. Biden won't make it 4 years. So what? It'll be Kamala Harris. I mean, Kamala Harris has proven she's willing to say anything and listen to anyone who wants to control her. Yes, she has ruled as as a senator, has been one of the most left-wing politicians. She said forced busing was racist and then literally a day later said, oh, I'm against busing. Or not supporting busing was racist. And then she came out and said, oh, I'm against it. She said she thought she believed the 4 women that said Joe Biden was a serial sexual assaulter. Yeah, she went to work for the man. At the drop of a hat, all of a sudden, it was, the most important thing in the world, Me Too movement. These poor 4 women that came out against Joe Biden, I believe them. And then, hey, Joe Biden's the man. What? What women? I'm speaking, right? She's going to be controlled too. Come on. And if on the off shot you're wrong, then they'll just take her down too. Making the best out of a bad situation. You know what I did when, like, for example, when Mitt Romney was the candidate? I'm a Republican. You know what I did? I refused to vote for Mitt Romney, even if it meant a terrible Democrat like Barack Obama getting in office. I said, I hope Romney gets crushed so bad that we never put another piece of garbage like him at the top of the tickets. Get him out. You chose to endorse Joe Biden. That's fine. You've endorsed Joe Biden and all the tactics that got Joe Biden elected. Maybe as a progressive, maybe you'll try to push Biden. What will you do if this happens? You try to push Biden to the left. Let's say Biden does start to do something. You're like, Biden, wait a minute. All of a sudden he stopped he stopped supporting a policy I like. This is crooked. He lied to us. You post, go to Twitter. Biden lied. He said that he would be for the idea of kind of a more Medicare for all type system, blah, 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 blah. Exclamation point send. Twitter censors you. Now what? The media refuses to point in this story. What are you going to do? Now what? Can't criticize them. Not if they don't want. That's what you endorsed. You lent that credibility. You said, that's fine. Yes. I see that's what the media is doing. I see that's what academia is doing. I see that's what Silicon Valley is doing. And I'm okay with it because Orange Man bad. Okay. You've signed on to those tactics. That's fine. And I'm not saying that you're a bad person. That's a choice you made. No problem. Yeah, the right has no voice in the mainstream media comparatively. Like, there's a handful. Tucker's okay. There's a handful of other people, but, I mean, come on. Did you watch Fox News? Fox News still has Arizona called. Something that even the New York Times and CNN hasn't done. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right, Biopusi, that he's for a public option, not Medicare for all. Yes. Why is it a lesser of two evils? Why is Joe Biden a lesser of two evils? Who are the neocons backing? Joe Biden. If you're a Bernie supporter, you probably don't like the corrupt wealthy. Who are they backing? Joe Biden. You don't find that odd? Who are the same people we just talked about? Corrupt people in Silicon Valley and the media. Who are they backing? Joe Biden. So, all right. Hey, you guys are the best. I will probably be doing a show at 8 a.m. Though, I talked a lot tonight, so I don't know what I'll say tomorrow. I didn't plan on coming on tonight, but no, it's been a lot of fun. And you guys are a fantastic audience. If I could make a pitch to find me on dlive, I don't know why, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I love SJG, but SJG could pull people in a dlive. He had like 90, 100 people. As soon as I get on dlive, 3, 4. So, I'd really appreciate if you follow me on dlive. YouTube's going to censor me at some point. So, a platform like dlive's cool. If you could follow me there, but I really appreciate any support. And I appreciate the people on the left that came on and I thought asked a lot of good questions and had good conversation. So, I really enjoyed it. So, but I am half asleep at this point. So I am going to get some to bed. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Each and every one of you that, listen to me. It's a humbling experience that anyone will want to listen to me. I really enjoy it, and I have fun doing this. And, no matter what happens, if America would happen and Trump wins or if Trump loses, remember, don't leave it make you physically ill. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be pissed off, right? But, don't leave it consume everything about your life and make you a miserable person. Remember, you still got your family. You still got your own self-respect, your own pride in yourself. Those are things that are important. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. As always, have a good one.